What's up, everybody? Lesson 3 for Algebra 1A. This is the week of 4/13/20 and 4/20/20 coming up. So what we're doing is the EQ, this is lesson 3, and the EQ is how can I simplify fractions? So we're still going through that fractions, just some review on that stuff that we were doing before we left. So here we go. Simplest form of a fraction, so we're trying to simplify fractions, is a fraction where the numerators and denominators only common factor is 1. So that means that we did greatest common factor 2 lessons ago, and basically when we boil down these numbers, the numerator and the denominator, the common factor they're going to have, the only one they'll have is 1. So we'll get to that. So here's an example. We've got 36 over 42, and it boils down to 6 over 7, okay? So we start off by just dividing the numerator and the denominator by 2, which equals 18 over 21, okay? And then we see that we can't divide 21 divided by 2, so we can divide it by 3 though, and we can divide the top by 3. So we divide those by 3. Well, 7's a prime number. It can't be divided any further, can't be simplified any further. It's only going to be able to be divided by itself in 1. And so this is it, simplified form, 6 over 7. How did we get there? That's what we're going to go over. Here we are. What we're trying to do is we're going to take 24 over 30, and we're going to use common factors to write it in simplest form. So we're just trying to simplify the fraction. So the first thing I do is I'll write that out, 24 over 30, okay? And then I just see, first of all, what's the easiest number that I can divide by to simplify it, to boil it down? So I think of 2, 3, maybe 5, those types of numbers. So right now off the bat, I can see I can divide this by 2 because we have these are 2 even numbers. So what we'll do is we'll start off just by dividing each side by 2. So it's going to get us 12 over 15. Now my question after that is, can I divide the numerator and the denominator by 2 again? And the answer is yes on the numerator, but no on the denominator because you can't divide that by 2. 15 is an odd number. So can we divide it by 3? 12 divided by 3, yes. 15 divided by 3 is yes. So we're going to take, we're going to divide this by 3, and we're going to divide by this by 3. Now remember, if you were trying to get equivalent fractions, whatever you do to the top, you got to do to the bottom. So we're dividing the top by 3, the numerator by 3, then you got to divide the bottom, the denominator by 3. So we've got 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. And that's going to be it. The reason being is because 5 is a prime number. You can't go any further. So there's the only common number these two have is 1. Because of course 4 we can divide that by 2 to make it 2, but we can't divide it by 5 by 2. Okay. So when you have where the denominator and the numerator have the only common factor is 1, you found the simplest form. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the greatest common factor of the numerator and the denominator to get the fraction to the simplest form. So right here we've got use the greatest common factor to write 10 over 40 is in simplest form. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 10 and we're just going to label out all of the factors, okay? So we've got 1, 2, 5, 10, right? 1 times 10 is 10, 2 times 5 is 10, there's no others, that's it, okay? Then we're gonna go to 40, and we've got, what do we got, 1 and 10, we've got 2 and 20, we've got, not 3, we've got, 5 and 8? 5 times 8. And then we've got 4 and 10. Excuse me, 1 and 40, not 1 and 10. Okay? So, if I label those all out, which I will, we'll go 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 20, 40. Okay? So then, let's just circle our common factors, or we could just go through it. We got 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 5, no, 8, 10. There it is. So our greatest common factor is 10. So we're going to use that. We're going to divide our original fraction by 10, numerator and denominator, to find what the simplest form is. So we'll go up here. We've got 10 over 40. And we're going to divide the top by 10. We're going to divide the bottom by 10. And we're going to get 1/4. And that is the simplest form of 10 over 4. What we're going to do is we're going to basically use kind of a graph, a real world situation, to boil it down some data that we found. So we asked everybody what their favorite spring sport was. So what's your favorite spring sport? We've got 20 kids like track as their favorite spring sport, 16 like baseball, and 14 like softball. So the question is, we need to determine the fraction of students that chose track and field as their favorite sport, and then we're going to answer that in the simplest form possible. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find out what the total number of kids is, and that will be our denominator. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to find the number of track and field kids over the total kids. Okay, so we know what the numerator is going to be. There's 20 kids that chose track and field on the numerator. Now we have to find the denominator, and what we do is we're going to add up all the kids and figure out what the denominator is. So we got 20 plus 16 plus 14 will be our bottom. Okay, new denominator. So we get 20, that'll be 50. So 20 out of 50, okay? And so what we can do is we're going to, so we've got 20 out of 50 is our fraction, but we want to simplify it. So 20 out of 50 is our fraction, but we want to simplify it. So we can see that, you know, what number goes into both 20 and 50. If you said 10, you are right. And we could do what we just did where we find the greatest common factor and do that. But if you can just spot it, because you just have that good number sense, that's awesome. So we're going to divide this by 10 and this by 10, and what we get is 2 over 5. So 2 out of 5 kids in this school, their favorite sport is track and field. So then I want to ask you, well, what would it be if we did baseball or softball? What would we change here? Well, we know the total number of kids isn't going to change. The only thing that changes is the number of track and field kids, because now we're not talking about track and field, maybe we're talking about baseball. So then for baseball, it'd be 16 over 50. And for softball, it'd be 14 over 50. Now my challenge to you right now is I want you to pause the video and I want you to simplify each of these fractions. All right, I hope you simplified those fractions. If you haven't, pause the video real quick before I get into it. But here we go. So I know I can simplify both of these by dividing by 2, first of all. So if I divide by 2, I'll get 8 over 25. Now, is there any number that can be divided that is a factor of 8 and a factor of 25? Well, 25, you got 1 and 25, and 5 and 5, and that's it. 5 doesn't go into 8, so that's going to be it. 8 over 25, okay? Right here, same thing, we could divide by 2. So we get 7 over 25, and that's going to be it, because you can't go any further. 7 is a prime number, so the only common factors these two numbers have is 1. So that's simplified. So 8 out of 25 kids are baseball people, 7 out of 25 are softball people. Our lesson on simplifying fractions. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me or jump on the group meet 1:30 to 3. Ask any questions you might have. Make sure that you get your work done. Send it back to me via email. or Flipgrid. You can take a picture or video in Flipgrid on that. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying healthy, and just remember, go Boomers.